Ladies and gentlemen, it is lightning round. The boys are here today. Kevin Tompkins, Andrew Cooper. Coop, my man, we are 1/9 done with the NFL season. Two
Dude,
18ths.
it sucks, man. It's like if you think about it, it's like when you have a food that's so good that you want to eat it, but you don't want to eat it because then you won't have it anymore. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll have something I'm just feel like saving like one last bite. I wish we could do that with football where it's like we could spread it out a little bit, we could savor it a little more, it goes too quick. It goes too quick. And I want to ask this: why all goddamn summer, every single day, except for like 2 days during the All-Star break, there is baseball all day long, starting at noon, and it goes throughout the night. Why are more than half the football games at the same damn time every single week on Sunday? Like, come on. Let's take back Saturday, let's take Friday, let's spread it out. Let's have the ability to watch more games, Kev. What do you say?
I like it, and I don't like the fact that last night we had to kind of stagger those two games. Like the end of the Panthers and Saints kind of bled into the first quarter of Steelers Browns. Like
start them earlier, dude.
Don't like that.
I had to watch them both. Yeah, it's like I had 2 iPads going, and they were so boring that I was also playing video games. So like I was watching both games at once, and I'm like, this literally isn't enough for my ADD brain. I actually need more than these 2 games. But it would be nice if there was a way to spread them up a little bit, dude. And Schwartz makes a good point. All that's why you like the all-you-can-eat buffets. That's what Red Zone is. Red Zone is the all-you-can-eat buffet where it's just, and that is nice. That is a nice moment. It's just
7 hours.
All right. The rest of the moments could be better. That's all I'm saying. We could spread it out a little bit.
But the leftovers aren't that, like, I can't go back and watch a 2021 week 4 game between the Jaguars and Titans. Like, I can't do that. Like, so those leftovers, not great.
This offseason, I tried doing that a little bit. If you do the condensed versions,
they're more palatable.
Yeah, but you also lose. It's not even close to the same vibe. It's like business. It's just like they cut out all the in-betweens. They cut out like any fair catches, any kickoffs that are touchbacks. Like, so it's literally just like, here's a play, there's a play, there's a play, here's a play. Like all the narrative comes out. It's a little less fun, but you can consume an entire game in like 20 minutes.
Right. That's pretty good. There's only a few games that I can go back and watch, like after the fact, like the Bills Chiefs game from a couple years ago, the playoff game. What was it? The Chiefs Chargers in Mexico City, that like back and forth score fest. I think Rams and Chiefs, that game too, a couple years ago. Like there's only a couple games. Like
my dad has watched the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl 75 times.
I mean, that counts though.
Every single time he's like, yeah.
Like it's happening right now.
Like my mom sent me a picture of him like up on the screen with his hand on the trophy, like with it paused, dude. And I'm like, this is the 50th time he's watched that. Why is he still holding up the Lombardi?
The elder Papa Coop. Gotta love it.
He's a G, dude. He's the only person I know. He's got some deep cut Patriots gear. Like he's got a
Marvin Cook.
He's got a Lenore Ryan shirt Kyle Duggar. He has a UT Chattanooga shirt for Cole Strange. Like he's just like he's in there deep, dude. He's in there deep.
That's awesome. Love to hear it. Love to see it. We're going to be getting into some deeper stuff here. We're talking some ball here. Week 3. We got a bit of a packed show. We'll be going through everything here, but let's talk about, we're through, like we talked about, 1/9 away from the season. By the way, Britt is not here. We will hopefully see you next week, Britt. We certainly miss you and want you here, but we will hopefully see you next week. Didn't want to kind of bury that, of course, but positive developing trends that we're seeing. Now we have 2 data points. It's incredibly important that, 1 week can kind of be an outlier as far as like maybe, sample size, but now that we have 2 and we're seeing, some more things trending, I think it's important to kind of note those and then, just kind of go with them. What's the biggest positive trend for you as far as the first couple weeks of the season?
Well, so there were a few, and to your point, like that's why it's so important to have a bigger sample size, but you also have to balance beating people to the wire. You know what I mean? Like you can't go back and get Puka now. You know what I mean? Like we have the two-week trend that shows that he, for the time being, until Cooper Kupp is back at least, he's going to be a thing.
He knows ball.
Yeah, he's a baller, man. And Matthew Stafford is fully prepared to get him the ball because he's been practicing with Cooper Kupp for 3 years. So, but on the flip side, you got guys like Cole Kmet that came out and played 97% of the snaps last week, only played like 67% this week. Still got some targets, but that's why it's important to have 2 weeks. One guy through 2 weeks where the sample size matches up across the board is our boy Hen Dog, dude.
The hen house is rocking.
The Hunter got in the hen house again this week. And when you go back and look, a ton of it is sustainable. So route participation, he's at over 80%, which is going to make him easily top 10 for the position. I think it makes him 8. Target shares just under 20%, which is going to put him again within the top 5 guys, right? Like it's the top guys in terms of target share right now for tight ends are Zach Ertz is at 30, which is probably not sustainable, but it's awesome. Ertz is at 30, Mark Andrews at 24, Travis Kelce at 22, and then Hunter Henry sitting just under 20 at 19.7, tied with Cole Kmet. So I got to be feeling good about that. The one big thing for him, he's always worried we're going to have Mike Gesicki in the slot, and Hunter Henry was going to be in line doing a little more blocking. He's only blocked on 1.1% of pass plays. Basically, just one pass play is what he's blocked on this year. Just going through it, 68% of his snaps are at wide receiver. His average depth of target is 10 yards. Like, it's the Hunter Henry show. So if he goes out and has a solid week against the Jets, which is a tough defense, I'm actually going to move Hunter Henry up into the bottom of that standalone tier, Kev.
Yeah.
Where, we do the yin and yang tight end, balancing safety with upside. I see no reason why he wouldn't be right there, kind of just behind guys like Dallas Goedert and George Kittle that we depend on every single week. So one more good week from Hen Dog. This is a big test because the Dolphins defense is trash versus tight end, right? So this is a big test right now versus the Jets. But if Hunter Henry gets at 5-6 targets minimum, and especially if he gets in the end zone again, it's wheels up for the Hen Dog, bro.
Yeah, right now he's looking like the top, at least cemented in top 2 target on the team. We wanted to see what Kendrick Bourne was going to do, week 2. His routes kind of cratered a little bit into that 50-60% range. There's still some ambiguity there with Juju Smith-Schuster, with Devontae Parker. Demario Douglas isn't earning, the routes that, he certainly earned a little bit of the share and then cratered down to like 10% of routes. So it's kind of interesting to see. Now Hunter Henry might be the Adam Thielen, like he scores too many touchdowns. Like that's what we're looking at.
For sure. Let's hit we had a couple questions in the chat real quick. We got Jerry Coltastic from Hawaii. Yes. Lives in Hawaii, currently in Germany for Oktoberfest. He says, 1 PPR, who do I pick up? Harris or Roshan? Who do I pick up, Harris or Roshan or Warren? My RB, Chubb out, Montgomery hurt, Cooks. Small 5-man bench. I did pick up Breida. Ford was already taken. You can pick up Najee Harris off waivers.
Or is that Damian?
Don't pick up Damian Harris.
Yeah, don't pick up Damian Harris.
Latavius Murray. If anyone
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Latavius Murray got kind of the first looks there. So no, not good there. But I would probably pick up Roshan. Jaylen Warren, I just don't see a world where he takes over the larger snap share, even if he looks better, but Roshan could potentially do it down the road. So I think Roshan. What do you think, Kev?
I think if you need points more right now, I think Warren provides more, and they play, I believe, the Raiders in week 3.
That's true. If he's going to go in, if the player goes into your starting lineup this week, then it's got to be Jaylen. But if it's a long-term stash, then it's Roshan. So good point, Kev. If he didn't say he lost Chubb and he might lose Barkley. So if you need someone to start this week, it's Warren for sure.
Yeah, Roshan, it was really interesting with Deonta Foreman being a healthy scratch to see how that backfield was going to shape up, but it was still primarily Herbert, and Roshan didn't really mix in as much as we thought he was. So still wheels up for Herbert. Roshan is still a good stash, I would say, but Warren, if you need the points with, obviously Chubb, pour one out for Nick Chubb, by the way, which are just a brutal, could not, I saw it happen, did not want to see the
Don't
replay.
Watch it. It's not worth it.
No.
We got another question here from Chaka. Dude, Chaka, and he's got the picture up too. That is a such a weird deep cut character, but it's hilarious. Have you ever seen The Land of the Lost with Danny McBride and Will Ferrell?
I have not, but
dude, it is such a bad movie, but there's so many parts that make me chuckle. There's one part where he's like, "This cave is 100 years old and holds 1,000 mysteries. or is 1,000 years old and holds 100 mysteries. That's just one of the mysteries. this movie is, and that character Chaka is like the worst character of all time. So I really truly appreciate this person with their username and picture being Chaka. Would you trade CeeDee Lamb for Kamara, Kyron Williams, and Drake London? First and foremost, Chaka, in a situation like this, when you have like stars like that, we got to know who you're dropping to make this happen. Yeah, because the problem is that you run into is you might be you're giving up good players to the wire, and that dude knows it. I've done that in leagues before where like I'll offer a trade like that, and then right before we go to do the trade, I say, oh, I look at the guy's bench and say, okay, he has to drop one of these two guys, and I like both of them. I say, hey, like, who you dropping, man? Like, I'll just take, maybe I'll take one of those guys. And then you can quietly turn this 3-for-1 trade into a 3-for-2 trade. It's the oldest trick in the book. So let us know who you're dropping before we can advise on that one.
Absolutely. And then we'll grab one more. I'm sorry. Actually, let me grab this one first because it was higher up. Been offered a trade full PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, flex, giving up Puka. This is a big one. Kincaid.
Teams.
Yeah, Puka, Kincaid, I'm assuming Miles Sanders, Mike Williams for Hawk, Warren, and Evans. I don't know if he can do that.
I don't know if I would do that. The problem, so Mike Evans, like he obviously had a big game this past week, but he's got some rough matchups coming up. Yeah. Like,
and then what do you are we expecting Baker Mayfield week to week consistency? Like,
I think what we're going to get is what we always get from Mike Evans, where there's going to be whenever a team has a top corner, it's a Chris Godwin week. It's just that's how they do it. Like every time he faces Marshawn Lattimore, it's Godwin. Every time this week he's going to have Darius Slay, and we might not have. There might be no James Bradbury, which means Chris Godwin. I'm going to rank Chris Godwin over Mike Evans in my rankings because I've just seen it too many times. So I don't know. I think I'd rather just hang on to what you got.
Yeah, and plus I would say Puka is the best player of this trade. It would be very hard pressed to give him up without getting something more premium for me. I don't think Hawk is enough of a premium, even at tight end, to warrant dealing Puka right now.
The problem you run into, though, is that he's got, I mean, you're basically just trading for a tight end. Like,
you can do better.
Those rosters are shallow, but I like the idea of giving up multiple guys to get even just one high end player when it's you only start like 5 guys like that. So I like the idea. Just try and get back one like star,
Yeah. So I'll go with my positive trend, and then we got some more stuff in the chat I want to definitely hit here. The Houston passing game might actually be a thing. CJ, look, we talk about if we're mad online, we want to tweet through it. Bob Slowick is letting CJ Stroud pass through it. 50 plus dropbacks in both games so far. And then you've got Nico Collins as wide receiver 6, Robert Woods as wide receiver 32, Tank Dell, I believe, is wide receiver 26. Like this offense, Dalton Schultz is getting routes, but the production hasn't really come along with the ride. But this offense, throw out what you've thought about the Houston passing game in the last couple of years. It's clearly a different system here. I will let you reveal the bingo square. I won't say it about who I just mentioned, but look, the Houston passing game, like I said, there might be 3 at least viable, maybe in deeper 12-team leagues, but viable passing game options here. And that's pretty great.
Right. And the bingo square, I'm guessing, is the tight end usage. The fullback usage.
No, about Bobby Slowick.
Oh, Bobby Slowick, yeah, with the Pro Football Focus, but honestly, the other bingo square is the fullback usage. So you see it with the 49ers, you see it with the Dolphins, where those teams use Kyle Juszczyk and Alec Ingold so much that there's really no third wide receiver. Now the Texans run that same offense. They're not using Andrew Beck quite on that level, but just the fact that they use that guy, use blocking tight ends, that takes the third wide receiver out and consolidates the targets among the top guys. And Nico Collins, clearly one of the top dogs. One concern, of course, is that, you look at it, this team's, 109 dropbacks is what they've had so far. To put it in perspective, the Raiders have 54 through 2 weeks. So literally double the dropbacks for that team. It's probably not going to, they're not going to set a record for pass attempts. So it'll probably come back towards the median. But right now, I mean, Nico Collins feeling like a guy you can start every week, and honestly,
regardless of matchup. Yeah.
potentially a top 24 wide receiver, right? It's going to be kind of hard not to rank him in that range where if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, I find it hard to believe that you don't have a spot for Nico Collins either in the lineup or in the flex, right?
Right. And then not only that, but the Texans are running the third most plays per game at 75 and the third highest concentration of total targets to the wide receiver position at 70%. So look, we talk about perfect storms with like the Vikings. This isn't quite that perfect storm, but it's still a very viable fantasy environment for the Houston Texans. So I am very bullish, at least going forward, certainly on Nico Collins. That was maybe the Shaq. I'm not quite familiar with your game. Probably should have been certainly where he was going in drafts, but Robert Woods was a free square. Tank Dell was pretty much a free square too. So, if you were sharp and got on these guys, you're reaping the benefits now.
Yeah. I was drafting Nico Collins because I knew there was opportunity there. So what I was doing is I was taking Collins knowing he had the highest ADP, and that if I had to pivot, it would be easier to add John Mechie or Robert Woods off waivers. You couldn't draft Robert Woods and then pivot to Nico Collins. So that was honestly one of the reasons I was taking him of the crew. If I had to pick one, I would have actually picked John Mechie, but once he was ruled, he was hurt for week 1 and we didn't know what his role was going to be, Collins was the guy I was taking. So kind of backdoored my way into having a lot of Collins on my rosters.
Yeah. We mentioned Houston, and here comes Colby.
There he is, dude. It's like, sound the alarms.
The Batman signal.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? You like to see them just, at least they, like you said, they're willing to let him go out there and run around and chuck it. So
right, they're not hiding him behind like running backs at like the end of the game and just salting it away. And they're going to be down in most games. Like it is what it is. But the fact that they're letting him Stroud pass through it, I mean, he looks worlds better than Bryce Young right now. Which, I mean, I guess maybe it's not the lowest. It's pretty low bar for CJ Stroud, but still, it's really encouraging to see that Houston might actually have something to build on here.
For sure. And we got in the chat, Anish Patel wants to know, any chance for net signs with Cleveland? Seems like a scheme fit for Chubb, and Watson needs a vet. My top 3 options are Kareem Hunt. This is an obvious one, but if there's bad blood there, Fournette's the best veteran out there. The other option that, some people have floated around, I put it in the article I wrote, is that, if a team says Cam Akers is on the trade block and we're going to keep him out from this game, then he is the most available player right now, right? So Cam Akers is one that would make almost too much sense. So maybe we see that, but who knows? Brad McCoy, shout out to our gang on Twitch gang, what up? Thoughts on Dameon Pierce, Kev, while we're talking about the Texans?
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at Dameon Pierce, I'm not super enthused. I think them mixing in Devin Singletary and Mike Boone, or Darian Gubawale last week, Mike Boone in week 1, doesn't bode the best for him. Like he's only still on 46% of snaps, still getting a lot of the rushing work, but I just don't think that the ceiling that we thought was going to be there. Like look at his preseason usage for Dameon Pierce was like a complete 3 down, like getting 60-70% of snaps. And now that has not translated over. And if that's because, Houston's been kind of down, or if they just want to mix in these other guys. I mean, Devin Singletary, we talk about the pass blocking all the time. Dameon Pierce has never really been that good. Devin Singletary was brought in as one of the better pass blocking running backs. So, it's tough for Dameon Pierce to see the ceiling outcome here. Unless Houston just completely turns around their fortunes, kind of on a dime.
Yeah. And it's just like crazy. They seem committed to not use him on every down, because Mike Boone, like you said, Mike Boone was a guy, he's out and they use Singletary. So just it's hard to get excited about a player like that.
Yeah.
Can I drop Elijah Mitchell, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, or Romeo Doubs?
Probably not dropping Dobbs. I think he's worked his way at least in the top 3 when Watson comes back, between him, Jane Reed, and Watson. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. I mean, it depends on how deep your league is. I don't think I'd be dropping either. Maybe Elijah Mitchell, because we're seeing like Carolina Panthers utilization of Christian McCaffrey right now. Like the dude's playing,
100%
100% of snaps. Yeah.
Yeah. Shanahan after the game said that was a mistake. He was like, he said he regretted not mixing Mitchell in, but I mean, what does that even
Genie's
mean?
out of the bottle at this point. Like if
Right.
CMC is clear, far and away the best pick, at least a fantasy pick of first 2 weeks. Like RB1 clear winner right now. So it's hard to kind of take him off the field for a guy like Elijah Mitchell, even though I do understand you want to kind of keep him fresher, but CMC is on a roll.
When you're building your roster, especially your bench, you have to consider what you need these guys for and what your goal is, right? Like if these 3 guys are your RB 3, 4, and 5, that means you're going to need to use them, right? Like at least one of them. So you definitely can't drop Justice Hill and Gus Edwards because you can't even use Elijah Mitchell. If these are, if you have a bunch of viable running backs and all you care about is the highest possible upside and you don't need to start these guys, then that's Elijah Mitchell, right? Because his ceiling is CMC gets hurt and now he's an RB1. I mean, he was really good before they got CMC. So just think about what the rest of your roster is when you make these decisions. Kev, if you had to drop one of Justice Hill or Gus Edwards, which one would you drop?
I mean, I don't want to really get my priors involved here because they are slanted toward the Justice Hill side. It would probably be the Gus Edwards side, honestly. And that's it's so close between those two backs because we're looking at short down and distance for Gus Edwards has that locked up. Justice Hill has more of the receiving role.
Right.
So it's really tough. It's really going to be it's going to be a seesaw.
Yeah, that not to mention with a mobile quarterback that,
snipes and touchdowns.
Touchdowns, doesn't really like dumping it down. Justice Hill got the better usage technically. When you look at he started, he played more snaps, but then there's the Gus Edwards touchdown. And I think at a certain point you have to ask yourself, does it if neither guy scores a touchdown, does it even matter? So it's like, do we just chase the touchdown?
Right. You're chasing 6.5 points.
Right. Point. It's like 6. Yeah. If we're talking about, 8 points for Justice Hill versus 6 for Gus, then just go after the touchdown, So, that's where I'm at with that. Would you trade, last question before actually, let's just clear the deck of these last 2 ones, then we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Would you trade Kupp and Kittle for AJ Brown and Hockenson? Yes.
I'd do that 100%. Yeah.
Cooper Kupp, the Cooper Kupp injury stuff went from day to day to just getting more and more strange.
A possible nerve issue now? That is scary.
I heard something that I've actually never heard before, that somebody was using the term genetic issue. Where
that too.
They said that it's like something with the way his body works that somebody else might react to this injury differently. Dude, very strange situation.
Yeah.
So if you can move Kupp, then I would do it.
Yeah, I actually turned down. I thought I could get a better offer for Kupp. I have Kupp on IR in a couple leagues, and one of them I got offered McLaurin straight up for Kupp, and I declined it, and I'm kind of having some regret on that right now.
Yeah. Should I drop Kyle Pitts for Jerome Ford? I don't have to start a tight end. Yeah, I mean, in a league where you don't have to start a tight end, Pitts is just impossible to start right now. It sucks, but that's the way it is.
It is what it is. Let's get into, we talked about some of the positive developing trends from the first couple weeks of the season. Let's talk about negative, and I'll kick mine off here. It's James Cook. Now, James Cook's been fantastic. He's everything we thought he would be. But it seems like Ken Dorsey is getting a little bit cute with involving Latavius Murray and Damian Harris. His design rush attempts went from 67% in week 1 to 49% in week 2. If he's giving way to those veteran backs, inside the 10-yard line, he's got a lock on the passing game stuff, but James Cook, we're looking at low touchdown equity right now. And basically that's like a healthy, J.K. Dobbins where he's actually plus passing game stuff. It's tough.
That's the concern, man. That's always a concern with these mobile QBs. And you saw it. Josh Allen trying to dunk it himself. Latavius Murray trying to, going straight Kool-Aid, man, at the offensive line, trying to run through a brick wall, and Latavius Murray was running hard. He looked pretty good. And then, of course, when Latavius Murray couldn't do it, Damian Harris went in to do it. So he wasn't even next in the order. And that definitely hurts. So yeah, James Cook, I moved him up last week, and now we got to pull him back down for the concerns that we had in the offseason of how they might utilize the weapons they have here. For me, there was another split that was even more sketchy, and that was the Jets, right?
Yeah.
Like I can live with, if they were going to split Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall down the middle, I could live with that. Obviously, we want one of them to get more work than the other because then we have one fantasy relevant asset instead of playing the guessing game. But this week they went out and Dalvin Cook played 17 snaps, Breece Hall played 15, and Michael Carter played 15. And Michael Carter, he's a pretty okay pass catching back. That's the real problem, is that like you look at last year, like 2-minute drill stats and everything. Obviously, Breece Hall was hurt, but Michael Carter was like raking in targets in the 2-minute drill and on all those aspects. So if this is going to be a 3-way split, that's a nightmare. 2-way I can deal with, even though this is now not an Aaron Rodgers offense. It's a bad offense. If we're going to have a Zach Wilson led team with a 3-way running back split, good gravy. I can't trust a single one of those fellas.
Not great, Bob. No. I just don't understand. I mean, I can understand from like the wanting to maybe keep him inside the bottle a little bit with Breece Hall. You look at just how good he looked in week 1. And then now, I mean, maybe it was just a product of the game script because what could they really do against Dallas? But yeah, just yikes. They got to do. Zach Wilson might be like 38th out of all the quarterbacks as far as like who would be a viable starter in the NFL, like behind like a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Like it's not great. They might have to just force themselves to make a move because it's week 3. We're already talking about this with Zach Wilson.
Right. Got a question for them from the Twitch gang, Jay Fox. I got offered Jamar Chase and Kyron Williams, and I would be giving up ARSB, Keenan Allen, and Gibbs. Nah, dude, keep the guys you have, bro.
Yeah, I'd be keeping out. Yeah.
Just keep what you have, man.
Now with Montgomery now hurt, I'm worried about how much they're going to involve Craig Reynolds in Detroit. I think that's certainly viable there, and we'll talk about that too. But yeah, I would still keep him out. I would still keep the 2 Lions and Keenan Allen. Allen just studded up this week.
Yeah, and Matthew Hudson, we see in the chat, and I think you got the right plan for that squad. Losing Chubb, awful, man. But at least Moss played a massive snap share, so you start Moss and Mixon, right, and just hope that it's the same as it was last week. Kev, what from the first couple of weeks, what question is still looming? We got a lot of answers, but we still have a lot of questions. So what's still looming for you going into week 3 here?
Yeah, and this is obviously fresh, and we talked about a little bit because of Nick Chubb going down. I just want to know if the Browns are going to commit to Jerome Ford going forward. Right. And, for 2023, or they bring somebody in, we talked about, possibly Kareem Hunt, possibly Leonard Fournette, maybe even sending a late round pick for Cam Akers. Like, I think we're going to see what they do either this week or, at the absolute latest next week, depending on how Jerome Ford does. So I'm intrigued about that. I want to see how they do that, but Jerome Ford is the priority ad on waivers this week, obviously for good reason. But maybe they even involve Pierre Strong a little bit and just say, you know what, we like the guys. They went out and traded for him. I mean, it was kind of a late training camp preseason swap, but maybe they want to see what they have at least with those 2 guys before making a move for a veteran that's on the street.
Yeah, I mean, if you're rooting for Jerome Ford, here's what you want to happen. If they bring in Kareem Hunt, Kareem Hunt's going to play a lot because there was bad blood there before. He was complaining about playing. If they bring him back, they're not going to bring him back to not play him. That would be insane. He would never agree to that, right? If they trade anything of value for Cam Akers, I'm talking a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick even, then Cam Akers is going to play. What you want to happen is you want them to sign some random guy whose last name is Williams that we've heard of from a couple of years.
Darrell Williams, baby.
Any of them, yeah. Darrell Williams would be perfect. Jonathan Williams, like any, and you're like
Antonio Williams.
Exactly. And you say to yourself, what the hell? This guy's still playing? Like that's what you want. You want them
Marlon
to
Mack.
Just grab somebody who's out there that hasn't officially retired yet, right? Like Dwayne Washington, or I don't even know. Like the normal guys that just show up and they're like, yep, we're here, we're ready to go.
You're gonna pluck Jake Funk off the Colts.
James Robinson's out there right now, right? Like I think those guys, Darrell or Damian Williams would be
Devonta Freeman.
Yeah. Malcolm Brown. Brown. He's like 30 now. Like Kenyon Drake. I'm just trying to think of names where it's like, who cares? Royce Freeman, dude. That'd be
Royce Freeman's on the. He's rostered.
Is he rostered?
Yeah, he's on the Rams.
He's the third
stringer for the Rams.
He's
behind
not on
Ronnie
team,
Rivers and Kyron.
Is he on the team still?
Yeah.
Good. Well, yeah, but perfect. The guy they already
Good.
have.
We knocked one out.
Yes, they can't just have two guys like on the depth chart. So he's on the Rams. Okay, yeah. So any one of these Rams guys, just send them over to the Browns.
Michael Pirine, boom.
Yeah,
go.
Perfect. So yeah, that's what you want to see. That would Devonta Booker scampers. There you go. That's what you want to see. Is this? They're like, okay, we'll have this guy in case of emergency. If they go out and they convince one of these Fournettes or Hunts to sign, that guy's going to play.
We are now a clearinghouse for dusty running backs, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I think we named them all, dude. What's Ellington?
Andre Ellington?
What's Andre Ellington doing? Red Jesus. What's he up to these days?
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's what I want to see there. The question I have is about the Lions. Like, if Dave Montgomery's out, he misses any sort of time. Are they really going to use Craig Reynolds and Bam Knight? Come on, dude. Come on.
It's bad, dude. It's so bad that we have to ask this question.
The proof, but we've seen teams do this in the past where it's like the New England Patriots. They would always keep a Danny Woodhead or a Brandon Bolden or somebody on the roster. And if the early down back got hurt, that guy would play that role. James White wouldn't get the full role. Or if James White got hurt, all of a sudden they're not going to throw it to LeGarrette Blount. So Danny Woodhead would go into that role, or Deion Lewis would go into that role, or whoever was the third guy. If that's how this team is set up, that is crazy annoying. And it could potentially be crazy annoying, not just this year, but for our dynasty teams for like forever. We want it to be two guys, and if one gets hurt, the other plays the whole game. What we saw this week indicates that might not be the case. And that would make me very sad for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, that's not trending the right way. Like, he seems like he has his favorites. He knows what he wants to do, and he's set on doing it almost no matter who is back there. So Craig Reynolds, come on down. You're going to be a deep 14-team ad in waivers.
DFS play. Craig Reynolds finds the end zone this week. Before we go to the next topic, the waiver wire discussion, George play in the chat saying, is it a good trade Kenneth Walker and Olave for Breece Hall and Chase in non-PPR? No, why would you do that?
I wouldn't do that. It's tough.
Having Chase would be amazing, but like Kenneth Walker looks great. Olave looks awesome. And Breece Hall, he's flashed a little bit, but they've now have almost no incentive to just like run him like crazy. They're splitting it three ways, and Chase is obviously like, we're going to rank him better than Olave rest of season for sure. But from what I've seen, it's not like we had Chase and Jefferson right next to each other going in, and I'm not sure I still have it exactly like that, Kev. I don't know about you. It's obviously you can't ever discount Jamar Chase, but like Olave's looked really good, and that's
he has looked good. I have CeeDee Lamb ahead of Chase as far as like if I'm going to re-rank these guys right now. I have CeeDee Lamb ahead of Chase, and just the way the Bengals have looked. I don't know if the Burrow's calf injury is really a concern right now, or if
it is a concern. They might start Jake Browning,
right? And he hasn't played he didn't play in the preseason. He doesn't have any of these, at least recent reps with these guys up until week 1. Like, I think that's a real thing where, he doesn't have reps with all those top receivers, and it's going to take to like week 4, week 5 to really get in the groove. And everything else is still what you want. There's still a high pass rate or expected team. They're still running a high pass rate. It's almost like the Bucs last year is so inefficient, but yet they're still racking up all these pass attempts.
Right. Yeah, man. When Burrow is right, they're going to be back to being good. But I just want, like, with that calf injury, I definitely wouldn't let him play, because we saw Aaron Rodgers had the calf issue, and then next thing you know, Achilles, right? Yep. So we saw Kevin Durant. Everyone watched Kevin Durant play through a calf issue in the finals and tear his ACL and tear his Achilles. So like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it with your franchise QB. Throw Jake Browning in there and lose another game if you have to. Nick asking, it's a little early for start sits. We still got some research to do, a lot of crunching. But first thought, Kev, start 3 out of AJ Brown, Lamb, Ridley, Puka. Goodness.
Yeah, I don't know how I can conceivably sit one of those guys.
If it's full PPR, you cannot sit Puka.
He said half PPR, right?
In half PPR, yeah, I think half PPR, you just start AJ Brown, Lamb, and Ridley.
Dallas has Arizona. The Rams have the Bengals. Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
If Puka does it again, then you just moving forward, you just.
I don't know how you sit Puka, honestly.
Then I don't know. You sit Calvin Ridley then.
He's gonna get 25 targets. It's gonna be just like one big math binomial or whatever you call it.
Yeah, all right, start Calvin Ridley. The Jags, like, we want shootouts. Jags Texans probably is not going to be that, so you can do that. Should I trade James Conner for Jonathan Taylor?
Depends on your running backs, but I probably
would, dude.
Nobody really knows, honestly, because JT can come back in week 5. I don't know if I can see him playing another down for the Colts.
I don't know. I saw him running around. On Twitter.
Of course, the litmus test. Yeah, I saw him run around on Twitter.
He posted on his own Twitter.
Back.
He posted a video of himself on his own Twitter, so he must be ready to go, right? Yeah. I mean, the whole narrative around that has been back and forth. I don't even know if he was even hurt in the first place. Like, the way that now this NFLPA stuff is coming out where they're saying, the NFL is accusing the NFLPA of telling players to fake injuries, and then, the whole thing where he was like, "Oh yeah, I can't practice because I'm hurt," and the GM said, "Well, we're not going to pay you unless you're healthy," right? It was like a stalemate, right? So I don't even know what's going on there, but
it's like the Kevin Nash gift where he takes the blanket off the leg. That's
right.
JT right now.
Exactly, dude. Like, he's ready. I think he's ready to go. So I would trade for him. And James Conner's never played a full season. So if you're worried about injured running backs, I mean, he's
got everything you want, but he's on a team that's going to win like 2 games.
Terrible team. Is Swift an RB1 now? No. But
mid-range RB2. I think when you see him and Gainwell, I don't think you can. This is going to be like an evergreen statement for me. It seems like this year is like the genie's already out of the bottle here with DeAndre Swift, where I want to see him with Gainwell. I want to see how this backfield shapes up. Then we don't have all the information yet. So with this backfield, I think we've clearly seen that Rashad Penny is not a focal point, likely isn't a focal point unless an asteroid hits, the practice facility and he's out getting coffee. So I think Swift, he's a mid-range RB2 with upside. Gainwell is probably more of a mid-range RB3 right now, but both are going to have a role. I want to see how it shapes up first.
Right. And then again, this team was dead last in throwing to the running back. Their coach, Nick Sirianni, does not like throwing screens to the running back. And they have the most unstoppable play in all football with the tush push, whatever they're calling it. So, but it is unstoppable play. So there you go. Kev, let's get into some waiver wire stuff. At quarterback, if you're going to grab somebody off the wire, and let's say ESPN owned in less than 50% of leagues, right? So if you're going to grab somebody, who are you grabbing?
I mean, we talked about Houston. I do think CJ Stroud is at least a speculative ad where he could be a guy on bye weeks that could get you through. Sam Howell can be a guy that can get you through too. I think you certainly passed the quote unquote eye test. Jordan Love is still kicking out there too.
That's the guy, dude. Come on, Kev. Are you Team Love yet? I know you're a Packers fan. You coming around a little bit?
We're like the meter is like 3/4 away. We're buffering. We're still buffering, but we're there. We're getting there. But
he's not Patrick Mahomes yet.
No. But look, 3 touchdowns in 3 games, in each game. I think that's something that's some signal there for me. This I asked last week, is Jordan Love a boat lifter? Like, Jaden Reed had 2 touchdowns, threw another touchdown. I mean, granted, it wasn't the best offensive environment. Jordan Love did make some not so good throws, but for fantasy wise, like, I'm fine with it. What's he, quarterback 2 right now?
Yeah, behind Kirk Cousins, I think. Just like we drew it up.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling it for sure. And like the thing with Jordan Love, the way it's Jordan Love over Howell for me is that, like, we want if Howell would just run more, and I was the one that was like, is this guy going to be able to run consistently at the NFL level? Yeah. If he would run more, I would be in. But as of right now, Jordan Love is running just as much and for more yards than Sam Howell, right? Like, Jordan Love can scoot. There's 3 types of quarterback. There's the pocket passer, which is like Jared Goff. He has no interest in running or doing QB sneaks or anything for that matter. Then there's the mobile quarterback, which is where I think Jordan Love and Sam Howell both fall. And then there's the rushing quarterback. Rushing and mobile quarterbacks, not the same thing to me, because the rushing quarterback, you have plays designed runs. And these even Daniel Jones is probably the lowest tier I would say is a actual rushing quarterback. But like guys like Mahomes and these guys, they're not drawing up. You're not going to see an off tackle play to Patrick Mahomes, right? Like they're not going to run power Mahomes QB draw. So like these guys, and I think for me to really consider Howell in a 1 QB league, I need to see designed run plays, even some draws or something. And we're really not seeing that. So,
right. Yeah. Like, look, Justin Fields, like we call him, Russian quarterback. He's like a mobile quarterback. What's he have? 4 design runs in the first 2 games. Like that's absurd.
Yeah. So, running back, the names are kind of obvious. Yeah. Jerome Ford, Gus Edwards, Zach Moss.
Yep.
So in some of my leagues, none of those guys are available, in which case I'm probably not even doing anything. But in a lot of leagues, I mean, like Jerome Ford only owned in 10% of leagues. A kid in my hometown league dropped in Yahoo. You can drop players that have already played. He actually added Jerome Ford right before the game. So good for him. Good for him. I didn't have anybody to drop. Yeah. I was looking at it during the day. I didn't have anybody to drop. So good for him. Good job, Dave. But yeah, Jerome Ford he's the priority ad, right? Even over Zach Moss. Zach Moss got every single touch, right?
Yeah, like he got Anthony Richardson got the other designed rushing attempt, but literally no other running back played a snap. Right. Like that is how deep Deion Jackson is in the doghouse. Deion Jackson played 1 special teams snap, not on offense, on special teams. He is as dusty as it gets right now. Like he's just drop him.
Dead.
But back to Ford, Earn Dog, our producer, Ernie Costa. How much fab for Jerome Ford? I mean, Kev, 30 to 40.
I'm doing if you went 0 RB and you haven't hit on RBs yet,
60.
I would do like 60, 70, whatever it takes. Like honestly, somebody might drop.
It's all, we throw all these numbers and it's really dependent on your league, how many bench spots you have, what your scoring is and all that. But like, yeah, if I'm a 0 RB team and I'm riding like James Cook and I'm rotating guys, like I'm waiting for the Charbonnets, Jalen Warren, Jerome Ford pops up like 60%. And I'm probably being more aggressive.
Yeah, you're not getting. Yeah, Scott Frankel points it out. You're not going to get him for 30. Like, and my policy is if you lost Chubb, if you don't have anybody else, like, to spend 100. Like, if you need this guy to be in your starting lineup for the rest of the year, like if that's what you're looking at with your team, like you look around and you had Chubb and Barkley and these guys, it's like, dude, you just got to do what you got to do to win games now. You can't just bleed games. So go crazy, right? Get up there if you got to.
Exactly. Yeah. And then let's talk about some wide receivers because we've got a few here. We talked about them a couple times. We haven't talked about Devontae Parker though, which I know you added.
That's my guy, dude.
Yeah.
100% snap share, right? Like we got to look around at these teams. Look at the Bengals, right? We think the Bengals are going to do better than they've been doing, but nothing's going to change. There's no uncertainty there. It's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Irv Smith and Joe Mixon. Those are the main characters. That's only injury will change that, right? With the Patriots, though, you had Devontae Parker, didn't play week 1, and then week 2, he comes out, plays every single snap. Kendrick Bourne is still involved. Juju's dealing with some mysterious explosive knee situation that Albert Breer's telling us about. Mike Gesicki had the shoulder injury, and he's played virtually he's only played 3 inline snaps, Kev. He's playing wide receiver. So Hendog is the starting tight end. So we don't know how that's going to sort out. And that's where there's room to create value, right? Like in these uncertain situations, I want to take advantage of whatever remaining uncertainty we have. Like what if Devontae Parker is just the guy, right? We don't know. We don't know what Bill O'Brien has planned. We know that he played every single snap this week, which is nice. Yeah. So I'm definitely trying to find a way to throw him on a bench if you can. But, it's not like you can throw him right into a lineup just yet. But in this week, here's the thing is that you might not even need to add him because he's going to get vaporized this week by Sauce Gardner. So the Devontae Parker play is a long-term play. Like if you're going to add him to your bench, you're not planning to start him this week versus Sauce because Sauce only plays outside and Devontae Parker only plays outside. He will be the sacrificial lamb this week.
Yep, 100%. And New England's passing a lot more than they have too.
Right.
I think they're at like a 68% raw pass rate. So I
You're
think
right. We talked about it with the Texans were 108 dropbacks or whatever it was. The Patriots are at 105.
105.
So they're number 2. Yeah, they're right there with them.
Yeah, definitely things you love to see. And then Tank Dell, we talked about obviously with the Houston stuff. Jaden Reed, I think it's a very nice speculative ad.
Yes.
Where he led. He has so many leads as far as he put up 44% targets per route run last week. Like think about that. That's every other target when Jaden Reed is out there, he's being targeted. Essentially.
Yeah, there's certain players, if their usage were to just get better, right? Like if Jaden Reed were to become a guy that plays in 2 wide receiver sets, it would be wheels up. If Jake Ferguson would actually run more than half the routes, which he has yet to do in either game, then it could be wheels up for Ferguson. But like some of these guys, the usage doesn't match up with the target so far. But if that were ever to flip, right? Like the Rams just said right from the rip, they said, Puka Nacua, you're the guy. If that's what happens with these younger guys, is eventually they say, hey, you know what? When we put this guy out here, good things happen. So let's put him out there more, right? Yeah, that's what you need. You need Jordan Addison to play more snaps than KJ Osborne. I don't know what that hasn't flipped yet, but I think it will.
It's
right?
it's getting close. It's
right.
getting close.
Like,
I think we're going to see it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt goes out and plays 14 snaps and has 90 yards receiving. Right. Marvin Mims plays 16 snaps, has 113 yards receiving and a touchdown, and he runs back a punt 45 yards. Like at a certain point, they're going to look, or these teams look around and they say, okay, like this guy is better than everything else we have. Jalen Hyatt needs to play over Darius Slayton. So that's why those guys are lottery tickets. You have to wait on them versus scratch tickets are things that we get answers early on. So definitely hold on. And I see in the chat, BL34, is Gesicki a sleeper? I don't know. Kind of. We need, the thing is, now that Hunter Henry has emerged and is really going to be the guy, he's locked in, that only leaves room for like one more player to potentially matter for fantasy. But Mac Jones is not going to have 3 fantasy relevant pass catchers. So it's Devontae Parker, it's Kendrick Bourne, it's Juju, it's Gesicki. Like you got it. It can only really be one. So him having tight end eligibility is the only thing that really keeps him on the radar for us right now.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about, so we talked about tight ends, obviously Hunter Henry, big in the waiver wire as far as on ESPN leagues, about 35% rostered right now. And then kind of on the threshold, Sam Laporta at almost 49%, Zach Ertz as well. Right up against the 50% mark though, but
they should have been added. They should have been added last week if they're there.
This might be the last chance to get either.
Right, Laporta, his usage was better this week. It improved. Last week he blocked on 15.9% of pass plays, which is above the threshold that matters, and he also only played 33% of his snaps at wide receiver. This week that pass block came down to 8.8. And he played like 60-something% of his snaps at wide receiver. So we're moving in the right direction with Laporta. The guy that I still like, those guys are mostly owned in your leagues. So if you need a tight end to add that's not owned, I like Luke Musgrave, right? Yeah. Like he actually led that team in routes run. It's still ambiguous over there, and he might get dropped in a few leagues because he only had 3 targets this week. But talk about a game script that is not conducive to big production. They only ran like 50-something snaps, right, Kev? Yeah, like just a slow offensive day. That's what happens when you play the Falcons. And the league average is like 65 snaps. So they're well below it was just a well below average game script. So I still like Musgrave, and that's the guy you can actually get. Laporta, Henry, Ertz, in your sharp leagues, they're probably already rostered.
Right. And guys like Jake Ferguson, who I believe you called a fraud.
Yeah, that clip was taken out of context. Actually, no, if you check my timeline on Twitter, there is a clip there that is fully in context where me saying trade Jake Ferguson for anything, and I stand by that. If you're gonna have CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and Tony Powell, I mean, just watch the video; it's already up there, But if you're gonna have those pass catchers, you need the tight end to play at least He needs to at least run more than half the routes, and he didn't do that, right? You got Hendershots flying around and getting goal line carries and Schoonmakers out there scoring touchdowns. It's just, if you can take advantage of what I think is unsustainable with the 6 targets week 1 and the random touchdown this week, if you can take advantage of that and flip it into something, I would do it.
Sure. Want to build a quick showdown lineup before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're in. So it's really a weird week. We have lack of clarity. I said on Brandon Ayuk's shoulder injury, Saquon Barkley's ankle injury. They're saying that he might give it a go, that it feels better about Saquon Barkley. Brian Daboll didn't want to rule him out immediately. So I think with that, it kind of makes it interesting where, God, how CMC captain is going to be like, what, 75%?
Yeah.
Maybe higher.
I think you have to make a team. Here's my advice. Make more than one. If you're going to play this week, make more than one team and make one CMC captain team and then make a fun team, which is what we're going to do.
Right.
Which is what we're going to do here. Who did you already put CMC in a captain?
CMC isn't. Yeah, I'm the captain now.
Take him out. Take him out.
We're building a fun team.
Yeah, build a fun team. Build the contrary team, but you got to have one CMC team.
Daniel Jones.
God, I hate Daniel Jones, dude.
I do too, but the only other option for me would be Debo.
Daniel Jones has such a punchable face.
Let's do Debo.
Let's do Debo.
Debo seems fun. Debo seems pretty contrarian. I think it'll be either McCaffrey. If they let Barkley, I think he'll come in at low ownership, but maybe Daniel Jones would be in there too. I don't think people will be doing Purdy either, but I think you got to bring Purdy along for the ride here too. It's hard. It's hard to put a lot of those Giants.
Crazy that he's in virtually every game this guy's played, he throws 2 touchdowns, and then this week he throws 0. But yeah, I can see it, dude.
I mean, is this a 49ers defense game too?
Yeah, Vinny, I don't think you can bench Puka right now. You got to start him even over Ayuk, honestly.
Yeah. I put in the Niners defense. I think that's a good spot for him here. I know the Giants had to claw back in that game against the Cardinals, but Mostert or Miles Sanders this week. Also sit one of T. Higgins, Lockett, Puka.
I think I would just start Mostert.
Start Mostert and probably sit and Lockett.
Yeah, probably sit Lockett. And also Chaka corrected his trade in the chat. He says that the trade is actually Lamb and Waller for Kamara, Andrew, and Kyron Williams. Yeah. So those trades are so tough without knowing how it affects your lineup before and after, to be honest. Send me that one on Twitter with your lineup, Chaka, at Coop A Fiasco. All right. Let's get back to the lineup.
Well, we'll grab this question before we get out of here, Ryan, here. But I got Debo, Purdy, 49ers in here. Like, trying to think of what else really makes sense here. If it's not Saquon Barkley, you got to figure one of, Breida or Brightwell are going to mix in. Brightwell wouldn't be rostered, but what's Breida at? 7,000?
Yeah, we can afford that. We can do that. Who's our ringer here? Jalen Hyatt's going to be so popular that I don't know if we want to do that.
I'd almost rather do Hodgins to get leverage on that.
That would make Dustin in the chat happy.
Let's throw Dustin a bone. We got 8,200 to play with.
We do like Dustin. That's the thing. We like Dustin.
We do.
We'll give him a reason to celebrate.
I probably talked to Dustin more than almost anybody else at the expo. I will say that.
He's a great guy.
Good guy.
Kyle Juszczyk touchdown. Is this the week? He's good for one a season.
Oh man.
No, I'm not doing it. He hasn't touched the ball yet this year. Crazy how many snaps that guy plays. Moody's kind of awesome, dude.
He is kind of awesome. I mean, it's fine to leave salary on the table here. We don't get it back, but
49ers defense might be the play.
I think they're an absolutely 100% a play.
The play.
Is this
if we go 49ers defense and Waller, then we can start whoever.
For Hodgins?
You can start Hodgins and Waller. No, but we don't want to have
him in for Breida.
No, we don't have all those guys in there against the 49ers defense.
No, if we're making the play of the 49ers are going to dominate this game, which it looks like, we should probably do 4-2. I'd say, we are at 4-2, but do we might want to make the 2 Waller and another receiver?
how can we get CMC in? If we go, not captain though, but let's say we go just all 49ers and one Giants player, right? Let's say we go Debo, Purdy, 49ers, Jake Moody,
Sterling Shepard. Let's go.
Cameron McCaffrey, and then Sterling Shepard. Yeah, get him in there. Or we go Graham Gano as our one Giant.
Could do that. With 34-9.
I'm putting that one in. You put Sterling Shepard in. I put that one in with with just an absolute blowout. Dude, that actually fits almost perfectly with $200 left over. So there you go.
We're playing that. We're playing that somewhere. But
I put it in.
Awesome. Love it. We got to get out of here. Stay tuned for Alarm Fantasy Football. Coop and Howard Bender are going to be talking about some secondaries. So very good conversation. Go over there. Well, stay right here.
Right here. Yeah, we're popping on right after this. We're just doing a quick refresh, jumping in with Bender and the gang. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Earn Dog behind the glass.
Thank you, Ernie. Toodles.
Gotcha.
We'll see you next week.
Shout out Twitch fam.